Time for your friend and my friend, Stan Pierchoski in Bulletproof Estate Planning. You'll probably have to adjust your headphones because me and Joe had them loud, I'm sure.
He does. Good morning, Jeff. Good morning.
Good morning to you, buddy.
Here we are, another Friday.
Yeah, we made it to Friday again, and I was just telling you off the air there that I passed by your new office.
Oh, you did.
Yeah, you have a great looking office there.
Yeah, we've got some good signage out front. It's a house, you know. It doesn't look like an office, but it is.
Yeah.
But it's right one block off the square.
Yeah, that's a beautiful part of town in Pulaski over there.
I mean, I don't know that I'd want to live there, but you could.
Yeah, it's right there near the campus of the college,
Yep.
and a lot of nice older homes right there. Just a beautiful spot. Big old trees.
Yep.
Yeah, I love that area right there.
There's a yard and a little lawn that we take care of.
Yeah, I love that area.
I mean, I like being on the square, but it just ran out of. We just outgrew it.
Yeah.
The part we had cleared out in there for an office was just not enough.
Yeah.
We had stuff stacked. We were storing stuff in other places. So.
Yeah, so you needed some more room. There you go. Well, good for you. That's a great looking office. You might have to tell people where that is.
Yeah, it's right in the corner of Jefferson Street and 3rd Street. The actual address is 304 West Jefferson. But you know, if the courthouse wasn't in your line of sight, you could see my new office from my old office, and vice versa. But they're that close. But
very, very good. Very, very good. Well, what's going on in your world?
Well, let's talk about seminars coming up.
Okay.
The next one coming up is a week from tomorrow, which is the April the 25th.
That's the one in Lewisburg, isn't it?
That is. That's the one where we got invited by the Marshall County Memorial Library to come over and talk about trust and what we talked about. We're going to do that seminar we call Wills, Trust in the Nursing Home.
Yes.
And I'm not sure, I think I said I would try to find out, but I forgot. And I'm pretty sure what they're doing over there is the library they're doing several elder law or senior topics throughout the month. You know, some financial stuff, some health stuff, stuff like that. And they wanted to fill the gap. Well, somebody talking about planning, you know, when you're a senior in planning.
Yeah.
And so they reached out to me and asked me if I would do that.
Sure.
And so we scheduled, you know, just coincidentally, we put it on a Saturday at 10 o'clock, which is what we're used to doing anyway.
Yeah. So
it's April the 25th at 10 o'clock in the morning. It's the exact same seminar I would do if I were hosting it by going over there and finding a venue to do it. You know, like the one we did here last month and one we'll do at the Star Theater next month. It's the same seminar, but it's just the only difference is I'm not sponsoring it. I'm just coming in response to their invite. So you know, we're looking forward to it. So I hope what they are doing over the month of April is helpful. And if you're not too far from Marshall County and you want to come to that, it's right in Lewisburg, and the actual address of the library is 310 Old Farmington Road in Lewisburg, if you need GPS to get there. But you know, we do ours about every other month. We did one last month in March. We're going to do the next one in May, but this one falls in between. But like I said, it's a special one. But it is open to the public, so if you want to come to it, you don't even have to RSVP. Just show up.
Yeah. And 363. 363-7222.
Correct. If you want to call the office and say you're coming, that's great. I don't think we really have to RSVP, but I kind of like to know that. Yeah. You know, I told them I would on my radio shows I would promote it as well.
Sure.
So
awesome. Good. Yeah. Awesome. Good. You're an active, busy guy.
You know, when we get here on Friday morning, we say, well, here we're at Friday again. You know, sometimes I feel like, wow, this got here quick. But also sometimes when it gets here quick, I feel like, gosh, I didn't get near what I wanted to get done this week. And that feeling is more and more, it seems like. But anyway, I guess it's a good place to be. It's good to be busy.
Yeah, absolutely.
You sure don't want to be bored.
Yeah, I like being busy.
So anyway, the next one I have after that is going to be over at the Star Theater, which is going to be on May the 30th. So that's over on the Star. We'll talk about that as we get a little closer to it. But yeah, if you want to ever see where we're going to be and you're not able to listen to one of the shows I do, then you can go to my website, which is estateplanstand.com. We have a calendar on there, and when you go to it, you can see where I'm going to be when I'm public speaking, like at seminars or something. And you know, if you're a church or an employer and you want to ask me to come talk to your parishioners for a church or your employees, we do that relatively often. Yeah. And the girls will find a time for us to do that, because a lot of times recently we have a business over in Pulaski that has about 15 employees. Yeah. And before that, we went out to the sheriff's department,
Yeah.
Okay, and we talk to the people that are employed by that person. And what I'll do for that employer is, if somebody wants to do some planning with me, I will have some sort of discount or some incentive there.
Yeah.
And then what it is, that way the employer is offering that to them.
Sure.
In other words, if you go deal with estate plan Stan because of the seminar that I brought him in to teach
Sure.
with, so it kind of works well all around. It gives the employer something to offer the employees, and they get an incentive for doing it that way. And I'm okay with
Yeah.
it because my seminars are just spreading the word, and it amazes me how hard it is to spread the word about something, because so many people that call me or come into my office or just have a misunderstanding of how things work. And I try to do these seminars to try to address the issues and how to explain the options and stuff, and do the radio shows. Sometimes I just feel like I'm barely putting a dent in it, but I mean, I know a lot of people listen, and a lot of people come and talk to me, but there's a lot of people out there too.
Yeah,
And,
absolutely.
a lot of people will come to me and they'll explain what happened with their parents, and it's just a disaster, whether it's long-term care or a long and drawn probate, all kind of things. And so, this is the kind of, I offer this information freely so that you know and understand, help you guide yourself around the speed bumps that are coming if you don't. So anyway, take advantage of the time I give freely, like at the seminars and that. I'm more than happy to do it. So, all right. So, what do you want to talk about today?
Well, I don't know. I don't know. We've talked. I've learned a lot. I will say that in the days that we have visited here on Fridays, and it's spurred a lot of questions. And in my world, it comes up. There's times when I've had to address certain things and kind of said, hey, you need to think about doing this.
Trying to tie this to current events. You've got some conflict going on overseas and stuff like that, but you can see already the effect on the economy, which is pretty positive. And
Yes.
It's going to become very positive. I mean, everybody buying our oil right now is
Yes.
an incredibly amount of money flowing into this country, and that sort of thing is going to continue. And during this administration, the stock markets and your 401ks and all those investments you have are just going like gangbusters.
They really are.
And I know that because I have one myself. I have some myself,
Yeah.
and I have people that come to see me, and they have these IRAs or these 401k plans or just investment accounts that
Right.
are growing by leaps and bounds.
Yeah.
And so their wealth is increasing. Now, how long will that last? I don't know. But if it lasts for a while and it gets way up there and then maybe stops growing, you still have increased your net worth.
Sure.
And now you have more property that you have to pass on to
Sure.
to people, and thus you need the protection for it.
Right.
So, it's a good time to be in the market, I think. I don't do much like active trading or anything. I kind of dabble with that sometimes, but I just dabble. But I mean, I have when you have a retirement account, that's what the people you have it with are doing.
Yeah.
Mine, I think mine's with one of the ones I has with Schwab.
Yeah.
And every now and then I get emails showing me what they sold, what they rebought in the portfolio. And
Yeah.
I take a little look at it, but I don't spend too much time on it because I'm paying them to know when things are not doing
Yeah.
well and they shift to something that is doing well. And that's what they do. That's what you're paying
Yeah.
them to do. And they just monitor the market and invest it under our prudent investment rule.
Yeah.
And so, that wealth and the price of your house. The tax appraisal for real property is done every 5 years. And the next
Yeah.
one's next year in 27.
Yeah.
So if you look at your tax card and say, wow, that's lower than I could really sell this for.
Yeah.
It might be, but come next year, it might
gonna be adjusted.
might be closer to what
right.
you can get.
That's right.
So we use
Well, I'm sure we'll take phone calls. They didn't stay long enough for me to answer, but
yeah, we will go ahead and take.
but we will take phone calls. So let's see what we got here. And good morning. How are you?
Yes, go with this any way you want to, which I know you will anyway. But I thought Mr. Pierchoski might be interested in this if he hasn't seen this article. It's in NPR News, April 3, 2026. And it talks about how the legal profession is being changed by AI. And it's not necessarily good. I'm not sure it's good or bad. But one has to do with some court cases. One was in California, and I don't know if they're using outside people to do their research for them or they're doing their own research, but they're coming up with what they call misinformation hallucinations and things things like that. And I knew he was using someone to do research for him. And let me just briefly tell you why this is important. This goes back 30 years ago. An attorney paid me $50 an hour. It only took me 2 hours to do it. But I had to do the research in the medical database to confirm that something was legitimate cancer treatment. And I did that, but I charged for it. And so the people really have to know, all right, that's one thing I would be interested in, and he may not be willing to discuss it on this show, but something he might be interested in. The second has to do with the case I called about last year and a personal issue with me right now. I pulled out an old contract I had regarding my husband's retirement account, and it works outside a will. And I was wondering if things that operate outside of a will could be put in a trust. And then a third thing, just in general for anybody, and then a third thing was this person I was telling you, it turns out that the real estate is outside the trust. But the mother and father are both alive. So the reason they put the real estate outside the trust is because they wanted to die at home, and especially the mother. So now there are issues with beneficiaries not agreeing. One wants to go ahead and put them in a nursing home because they meet the requirements for Medicaid, because their names are no longer on the deeds and the children's are. So there's some issues there. I just wondered if he would be interested in those topics, and don't feel obligated.
All right, thank you, then. All right, the AI thing is interesting.
It is, and that's we've got to work on how we ask questions. I mean, I try to keep up, but AI, that's one thing. I do certain training throughout the year. Just, we have to for our continuing legal education.
Right.
There's a symposium that I go to every year with a lot of estate planners, and the last one I went to, we come to the realization, all of us, AI is coming whether we like it or not, right?
Yeah, it is.
And,
it's here.
And I get emails all the time about some, AI that can answer my phone for me 24/7 and actually do follow-ups.
Yeah.
I don't pretend to understand how they manage to do that, but I know it's coming to the legal profession. I think there's certain things that it can do okay, but I think what she's referring to is a lot of the AI that people put on their websites. You can ask it a question and it'll give you an answer, and people are going to take that as a legal opinion.
Yeah.
And I would caution you of doing that, because if you have a certain AI and when you type in a question, the AI that I've seen tells you that searching it's paused. It says, just a minute, we're searching the web.
Right.
So it's searching the web for answers, and that's not always the best place to search it from.
Mm-hmm.
You can search yourself. It's not as quick, but that doesn't mean it's the truth.
Right.
And so I'm not crazy about it doing stuff like answering my phone or answering questions for people. Now, generalized questions like, please tell me what your question is, and I'll forward it to somebody to call you back or something like that.
Yeah.
It might be used for that. I'm not gotten into it too much. I know it's coming. I have some younger people that work for me. I've asked them to look into it. Although I do have some of the subscriptions I deal with and the software I deal with, I do have an AI that I can ask questions of myself.
Yeah.
And I do use it from time to time when I'm kind of stumped, but I never take for granted what it tells me. Like there was something I was looking for, a very specific thing. I typed it in and it came up with some, and it spit out some statutes and some CFRs. So I went and looked those up. And it turned out that when I looked them up, they weren't exactly hitting the nail on the head like the AI summary said it was. And so I typed in some follow-up questions. As I typed in the follow-up questions, it narrowed down what I learned on the first question. Mm-hmm. It started giving me some responses, and I went and looked at those, and then I kind of found what I was looking for doing that. So I see an advantage to using it, but I sure don't think it ought to be replace the attorney or the attorney's thought process, because it never will be right. I mean, it just can't possibly know all the circumstances, because when you're in law, everything is circumstance driven. If you're in math has one answer.
Sure.
Math is always exact, math
Sure.
is always right, and it can only get one answer. In law, the answer can depend on the circumstances.
Yeah,
And so
that's true.
That's what's missing with the AI, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Now, first of all, anything that comes out of NPR, I wouldn't listen to or pay attention to anyway.
I agree with that.
Public television is
They're as twisted as they get.
It's completely useless. Yeah, they have their own things in mind. They'll talk about AI if it suits them.
Yeah, if it suits their purposes,
Yeah,
yes.
but she's right. AI is coming in all fields, whether you like it or not. Now, old guys like you and me, we don't like the change like that, but
Yeah.
it's just part of what's going to happen. So,
Yeah.
it is a different world with AI, and it really goes fast.
Well, I ran across a little circumstance this week. You may not be through addressing.
Well, I have the other parts.
Okay, well, go
but
right ahead.
But you go ahead and
Well,
I'll get to them.
okay, we'll get back to some of her questions because she's has different directions there, different ways. But I ran across something just this week that I intended to ask you about, and that is I had a family who there was a passing, and now there is a piece of property. There is a will, okay, and they have not gone to probate with it.
Okay.
And they sought some advice, not necessarily from me, okay, which I wouldn't have given legal advice anyway. But anyway, they were dealing with this circumstance, and they were told they didn't have to do probate, and I'm like, well, my understanding is that if you have a will, you have to do probate. So is there a way that you don't have to do probate if you have a will?
There is, and again, like I said, circumstance driven. Okay, one of the classic times you do not have to do probate. You have a married couple, husband and wife. They've been married for a while.
Okay.
Technically, pretty much in most cases, everything's jointly owned.
Okay.
Okay, so when you have probate will distribute property that is owned by that individual.
Right.
So, between my wife and I, everything's jointly owned, right? I don't really think of anything I have. Maybe some stuff with the law practice, but essentially everything's jointly owned. So there's rarely a reason to probate the first death of a couple because of that. Everything's jointly owned, so it all belongs to the survivor anyway. There's no reason for property to be probated. But at the second death, then it's an absolute surety because now everything resides with the survivor, right? Mm-hmm. But other times there's some probate what I call the abbreviated version of probate. Sometimes if you don't have much in the way of assets, you can do a small estate, which is a probate action. It's just a much shorter and easier thing to go through, simply because there's not many assets. But that means the requirements for that is you got to have less than $50,000 of assets and no real estate to pass.
Okay, well, now
that's somewhat limiting. So this had real estate. So.
In this particular circumstance, there's a piece of real estate.
Yep.
There are 4 heirs.
And in the
will.
The other thing you can do is if there's a will, you can do a probate action called muniment of title, which is very quickly done, but it just passes a single asset and almost always real estate.
Okay.
And then the other one, if you don't have a will and you have this piece of real estate to pass, and you have to do it by what we call affidavit of heirship.
That's what I'm asking about right there.
Affidavit of heirship is a way. It's not even a probate process. It is a way. If somebody passes away and owns property,
yes,
and of course and if that's all they own, there's no reason to open a probate estate because it's a single asset, and that asset is real property.
Okay.
We can do something that's called an affidavit of heirship, and I'm gonna get into all the requirements, but basically what it is an affidavit of somebody in the family, or that is where you get several other people to sign affidavits swearing that yes, these are the all known children of this person.
Yes.
Some little blurb about him. Known
Yes.
Jeff for 20 years, and I'm very close. I know his family. I live next door.
Right.
And in my knowledge, these 3 children of his are the only known children he's ever had. You get 2 people. I think you're required to have 2 people put an affidavit to that. You can have more. You can have more if you want. Then the affidavit then has the metes and bounds description in it, and the affidavit of heirship actually is the deed in the chain of title. If you ever see something like that, it looks pretty odd because there's all this affidavit work, and then it actually has the deed language in it as well.
Okay.
Then that actually is the deed in that chain. So that is not a probate action. Now, typically what happens is they don't have to probate. This is the first death of a couple.
Do what now?
Typically, the non-probate that you see when somebody does have a will is the first death of a couple.
Okay.
And because if that happens in your husband and wife, then it just simply it doesn't even pass.
Right.
It all belongs to the survivor under survivorship.
Right. Yeah, that's different than this circumstance.
So I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
The affidavit of heirship was I needed a little explanation on.
I call it an abbreviated version of abbreviated version of probate, but it's really not a probate action at all, it's just a common law action.
Yeah.
The monument title, we do that if there's a will, because then it's a probate action, we don't have to have people swearing in an affidavit, we're just saying there's a piece of property, that's the only asset. The will says where it goes, and so the monument title does that, sends that piece of property where it's supposed to go. But that is something under the probate jurisdiction.
Okay, all right.
Let's see if I get back to the.
I'll let you get back to the other there, so.
I knew if we strayed, I wouldn't be able to follow my notes. Said something about a retirement account being outside the trust, and something about the beneficiaries. Well, I mean, that's true, retirement accounts are always outside a trust, you can't put them in a trust.
Okay.
They are beneficiary-driven instruments. And I've talked about this before, but I'll say it again because it comes up all the time.
Yeah,
Somebody comes to me and says, I got this IRA and I got $200,000 in it.
yeah,
And I want to put it in my trust. I will say, you cannot put an IRA into any trust because you don't own it. And that sometimes makes people mad. They say, the heck I don't, there's $200,000 in there. I've been putting money in there for X number of years. And, I'm not trying to be flippant or insulting. What you don't own that $200,000. What you own are the future distributions when it starts paying back to you. That's what you signed up for. You're going to put money into this. Let's take a 401k or IRA standard.
Yeah.
You put money in it during your working years, and the theory is you can put money in there. And I'm not even talking about the tax part of it, but you put money in and you don't pay tax on that money.
Right.
So you put it in, and there's an agreement. There's a policy. Okay, and that thing that says you can start taking money back at 59 and a half, or you have to start taking it back at 73.
yeah.
But you can start taking distributions. Now, when you take distributions, we're going to pay you, and then you pay the tax on the money as it comes back. But that's what you signed up for.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, to be clear, you could put an IRA into a trust, but what you have to do is cash it out and then put the lump sum money in. But if you cash it out and take the $200,000 and put it in the trust, it's not an IRA anymore, it's a lump sum of cash.
Yes.
So it's possible to do that. So we have a solution for that. And those are always outside the account. So it's a beneficiary-driven instrument. So you will name where it goes. If you pass away at death and there's still property in there, it goes to the beneficiaries, right? There's still money in there. But we have a solution for that because it's never in your probate estate anyway because of the beneficiary aspect of it. Anything that passes to a beneficiary does not go through probate. It's passing by contract.
Okay.
You have a contract where you name beneficiaries and whoever your New York Life or whoever you're dealing with agrees to pay that to them. They don't call and ask for the probate court's permission to distribute it. I mean, it's a contract that says it's going to happen anyway.
Right.
But we have a solution for these retirement accounts if the concern is long-term care. If the concern is not long-term care, there never is any long-term care, and there's any money in it at death, it just passes by beneficiary. Okay, now I'm not going to get into how it passes because our Secure Act changes whether you can take it lump sum or have to take it all out over the next 10 years and stuff like that. But it does go to your beneficiaries.
Okay.
The money's not lost. But the problem that I run into more exclusively than in that scenario is people that come to me about doing our asset protection trust and they want to protect property from the possibility if they go into long-term care and they got $200,000 or $300,000 in a 401k or IRA, a tax-deferred plan. And we can't put it in the trust. Okay, so we can't put it in the trust. Here's the problem. In 2019, Tennessee modified the rules on IRAs and 401ks and those other ones like the 429 plans for teachers and the 459s. There's a half a dozen of them, but they're all the same kind of account, right? They modified the rules in those back in 2019, along with about 22 other states, because they used to be different, and I might as well not even talk about what they used to be, but now they're accountable asset all the time, whether it's you or your spouse, or whether it's in payout status or not payout status. There used to be a little protection in there depending on where it was. Now there's not. It's just accountable asset all the time. So the problem is, if you go into long-term care and you got this $200,000 IRA, it is accountable asset. You will be expected to cash it out and pay for your care with that.
Okay.
So in other words, if you try to apply, they're going to say you're over-resourced. You got plenty of money to pay for your care, right?
Right.
Because you have a countable asset that's available. Remember what I always say? If you don't understand the word countable asset, insert the words available for the cost of care asset. And maybe it'll make better sense to you.
Right.
So there's what they're saying by that law, by the changes in 2019, is that that is now an available asset. Not only yours, but your spouse's is available for your cost of care, and vice versa. It is as a married couple, it is collective. That's what changed. So, let's say we always pick on the husband. So Jeff goes into long-term care. He doesn't have an IRA, but Teresa has one.
Yeah,
Her IRA is available for your cost of care, so they will expect you to do that with it.
right,
So we want to protect those, right? That's what I'm in the business of doing, protecting people's assets, especially from long-term care.
right,
So we can't put it in the trust, so we can't do anything along those lines, but what we do is this: we keep it out of the trust, which it has to stay out. We let it pay out in our retirement years, just like it was designed to do.
right,
If we never go into long-term care, no problem. The trust says where it goes, or the item it says where to go. But if we go into long-term care, now once you go into care, we have something called the crisis planning tools. Now these are several tools we can use, but the only problem with crisis planning tools is they're only available once you're in care. You can't do anything up front. You gotta wait till that point. So if you go into care, remember, dying is a when,
Yeah.
long-term care is an if, right? So
Yeah.
if you go into long-term care, what we'll do with this IRA, say there's $200,000 in it and you go into care. We don't wanna use that, we wanna save that. I mean, the reason we wanna save it, we've been putting into it all our lives for for this very reason, right?
Yeah.
So we have money during retirement years and can pass on to a future generation. So if you go into care, what we're going to do is going to take that IRA, we're going to cash it out. As soon as they say that, people start saying, well, the taxes, we got to pay. Well, hold on a minute. We take it out. When you cash something like that out, you have 60 days to turn it into a similarly taxed instrument.
right,
And if you don't in 60 days, now you owe the tax on it, right? Well, we do this for the express purpose of turning it into something else. So if we cash it out on Monday, we've turned it into something different by Tuesday. So we got 60 days to do that. But so there's something else we turn it into is a Medicaid compliant annuity.
yes,
So what we're doing, and now that annuity is usually a spousal annuity if you're married, and it will take your account and it will take all that $200,000 and pay it to your spouse over some period of time that we can select or determine. Can't be shorter than 4 months and can't be longer than the person whose IRA it was, their actuarial lifetime,
Yeah.
which is usually several years.
Yeah.
And when we spread it out, we make that decision based on the tax impact and the health of the person we're paying it to. So in other words, if their health is really poor, we're going to pay back real fast and just take the tax hit. If they're healthy, we're going to spread it out over a term of years and mitigate the tax hit, but provide the stream of income for the
Sure.
spouse. So what we've done is we've taken a purely countable asset, the IRA, and turned it into a non-countable stream of income. So now that $200,000, when we get to fill out the application for eligibility, is not even in the equation because the application only deals with countable assets, and now
Yeah.
it's not anymore.
Yeah.
So we can protect every dollar in that IRA, but we can't do it ahead of time with the trust. But we do it if you or the spouse go into care.
okay,
I mean, I hate that it's that way. I hate they changed it, but they did, and so we have to play the cards we're dealt.
yeah,
But we still have a very viable option to exercise with these IRAs. And I've done it. I've been in business long enough that we've done this on multiple occasions.
Yeah,
and it
okay.
works. And it depends on whose it is. Sometimes it's the patient's IRA, but because it's the patient's IRA, we sure don't want the annuity to pay to the patient, because now we've made a stream of income to them, and all the income goes to cost of care.
Yeah.
So but what we do is
you get your money taken away from you.
now if it's the community spouse that's not in care, we
Yeah.
can turn it into an annuity that pays to them. And
Yeah.
they're the annuitant, and they're the one that receives the annuity payment as well. That's okay. But when we do it the other way, if the patient spouse has the annuity, we cash it out, we gotta send it somewhere. So we send it to the spouse, the payments, right, the annuity.
Yeah.
Now what we do now is, because it's the patient's account, right? So what we do is there's something that we can exercise called the name on the check rule. So we make the payments to the spouse, and when the spouse gets the check, it's in the spouse's name.
Yeah.
That makes it the spouse's income, and that's
Yes,
how we do it. And so that protects every dollar in there. Now, if you're single when you go in, we have to do an annuity like that. Depends on who we have to give it to, but usually when you're single, there's going to be a little bit of loss involved. But just because a spouse is a place where you can stick unlimited property. And
Right.
if you don't have a spouse, then you lose the ability to shift stuff unlimited.
Yeah.
And usually when you shift it to other people like your children, that's a gift, and that creates a bit of a penalty. And we have ways to deal with that, but it's not as ideal as
Okay.
when you have a spouse. So
very good.
that's the retirement account. Now the last one, I kind of got lost in this last one. It's talking about real property that was out of the trust, and because the people wanted to die at home. Real property should always be in the trust.
Yeah,
There's no good reason to leave it out, in my opinion. I mean, maybe there's a reason I hadn't heard of yet that would make
Yeah.
sense, but I can't think of any. because those are big ticket items. Now, when you put property into a trust, you can still die at home. I mean, you can do anything you want. When you put your house, let's take the primary residence, which what most people have, right?
Yeah.
You put it in any trust. Well, you still live in it. You still pay the mortgage if you got one. You still mow the grass, clean the gutters, and I mean, it's
Yeah.
seamless to you when it's in the trust.
Yeah.
It is absolutely seamless to you. You live there. You can die there. You can do whatever you want. You can party there. I mean, nothing has changed from you, the person that lives there.
Right.
So I wasn't sure if the reason it was out of the trust was because they wanted to die at home.
Yeah.
But then later on she said it was out of the trust, but it was already in the kid's name.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a little different. It's out of the trust, but it's also not an asset that they own.
Yeah, so it
already
already
gone.
belongs to someone
It's already
else.
gone. Now, if they want to die at home, then unfortunately they need the kid, whoever owns the home's permission to stay there and die at home, which people usually reserve a life estate to make sure they can still do that.
Is there language you put in the trust to address the fact that you're going to stay there at the home?
Yes, there is. As a matter of fact, when you give it to your kid,
Yes.
people reserve a life estate. What
Yes.
we're doing is we're retaining the present possessory interest, so we
Yes.
can live there. When you put it in trust, we do a little something different because when you retain a life estate, that life estate has value, and if long-term care comes into your future, it's a cumbersome asset.
Yeah.
So what we do is in the trust we create something called a right of occupancy. It's the right to live there, but it has no actual value to it. Life estate has value that dwindles over time and then expires worthless at death.
Yes.
And we talked about that on previous
Yes, we
shows.
have. We
And
have.
that's kind of a math problem on the life estate.
Right.
But yes, it does create language that for the primary residence, you reserve the right to live there, and so does the surviving spouse, and then that property will pass at death.
Okay.
So,
But it's different than what we call a life estate.
it is different. It is a different,
It's
because
interesting.
and the big difference is the life estate has a value attached to it, because you go to the life estate tables and look at the age you were at when you made the life estate, and it shows you what you divested yourself of, and that's the remainder portion, and what you retained, which is the life estate.
Well, that's interesting because I think, a lot of us commonly think, well, we'll give our property to our kids and we'll keep a life estate. And that could be a mistake.
Well, it's not necessarily a mistake. We can work with it.
Yeah.
Because it's out there. A lot of times people come to me and they've already got that.
Yeah.
But we can work with that. But if you're going to do a trust, there's a better way. But if they just come to me and say, I want to just pass the property to the kids, but I'm afraid they'll kick me off of it the day after I give them the deed, which is possible,
Yeah.
which is why we do it.
Right.
We maintain the life estate, but there's no getting around the fact that that's an asset that has value.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting.
I think that answers this question. I'm trying to answer these questions. But
Yeah,
if
you
could
did.
just-
Hey, you did good.
I'm getting
I
distracted.
wasn't sure I understood the question, so you did awfully good.
I'm getting distracted because some woman walked in here and she's.
I happen to
she's
notice.
wearing- she's
I
wearing a
happen to
skirt, She's got
notice.
some nice legs. And
I happen to notice there was a woman that walked in here.
it's disrupting my train of
Well,
thought.
can you ease over here and tell us who in the world you are and why you are here?
Well, I, sir, am Tammy Pierchoski, Stan Pierchoski's other half.
I knew that. I'm just finding a way to get you involved.
Absolutely, absolutely. No, I was over doing the little spot this morning about Star Theater. So.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's going on with Star Theater?
Oh my goodness, this rascal beside me and I are directing together
Oh my goodness.
1776, the musical.
Oh my gosh.
We may survive it. I don't
Yeah,
know.
there've been some
Sometimes I
quiet rides home.
Sometimes I wonder. No, it's not. It's not so much between us. There's 27 men and 2 women,
Okay.
and it's a lot. It's a lot. No, anyway, we are heavily into the rehearsal of it and the production
Yeah.
of it. We've actually got the point where we got literally 90 to 95% of the set ready to go. We've got 95% of all the costuming ready to go, and we're actually running the show from beginning to end as much as we can in each rehearsal. So we're not like we got the blocking down, the choreographers got the blocking down, and the music people have been working with the people that sing.
Yeah.
And so we're running the show, and as you run the show, there's these little blips, and people forget this, and there's parts where it's a little bit cumbersome. We got a couple of scenes where it's very chaotic. It's the Continental Congress is in session.
It was pretty
And
chaotic.
something comes up, and they're arguing about it, and all of a sudden everybody's chiming in and shouting and stuff like that. You know how hard it is to make a controlled, chaotic scene? I mean, it's easy to do because everybody just start talking all at once.
Right.
But to do it on cue, we have to practice that a couple times.
I would have a hard time with that because if there's an argument going on, I want to get in on it.
Yeah.
Yes, these guys did too. So no.
But it's going very well, and I know we want to talk, I'll let Ms. Tammy talk about when it is, because it's coming right up as far from a director standpoint.
Yeah.
And when you direct a show, I swear to gosh, you always feel like you need another month. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
at the end of that month, you would say, I still need another month.
But then opening night comes and they just blow your socks off and you're like, we did it.
Yeah.
We did it. It always comes together. We always say that. We're like 3 nights ahead and you're thinking this is never going to work. And then, but I'm really confident in this one. I think they've got a good grasp on it.
Yeah, so when is it? When are we going to see
Yeah,
this?
so it opens on the first weekend in May, so it's the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, and then the 8th, 9th, and 10th. And we have the Sundays are matinee performances, so they're at 2 o'clock, and then the evening performances on Friday and Saturday are at 7. So 30 minutes door opens ahead of the show, and you can get tickets at startheater.org. That's star with 2 A's. So startheater.org, and they're going pretty fast. We've had a lot of groups come. We've been excited that a few churches in surrounding counties have booked 30 and 40 seats. So
Oh, wow.
that's exciting.
That is
so
exciting.
if you've got a service club or any kind of group you're involved with, this would be a great outing. And we offer group rates. So
Okay.
just reach out, get on the website and find the phone number, and you can just get in touch with me, and I will be happy to set you up. Tickets are like $18 to $25. They're very reasonable. We have a full concession stand. I don't know if you folks have been to Star Theater. If you haven't, come check it out. The seating, there's not a bad seat in the house. It's an intimate theater. It's only 140 seats. So
The last one I got to go to the Star Theater was the
Golden Grease.
Grease.
did you see the
Grease.
Golden Grease?
Yes.
Ah.
I got to see Golden Grease.
I saw him in the audience.
Oh my goodness
Yes.
sakes.
Yeah, we enjoyed that.
We do a lot with the adults, particularly, and then we've got coming up May 7th, we've got auditions for Aladdin Jr., Disney Aladdin Jr. for the children. So that's 6 to 18 years old, and
Yeah.
that'll be our summer production. But yeah, we have one closing and one in rehearsal at all times. So every other month we have a new show on the stage.
Interesting.
And this is a interesting show. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie. It's done.
1776.
William McDaniels was the John Adams in that. He did such a wonderful job. And he just turned 99 years old a little while ago. But it's usually out on some channel around the 4th of July, and that's what we're doing. We're doing it this year. We're doing it in May because you have to get the rights and you can only get them for certain times. And we're doing it for the 250th anniversary of the country, because this is where we're counting 250 years from, right? 1776 to 2026. And it is really about the signing of the Declaration. And I'm actually playing a role. I'm playing John Hancock, the President of Congress.
Imagine that.
Now imagine that.
President of Congress. So you can call me, you can refer to me as Mr. President.
Mr. President.
Now, why do you think they refer to the chairman of Congress as the president?
I don't know that I know the answer to
Well,
that.
we're writing the Declaration in 1776. Okay?
Right.
The Constitution wasn't written until 1980, like 8 years later.
Right.
And the Constitution created the 3 branches of government, including the executive, would define the
That's
president
right.
of the United States.
That's right.
So, but it's a good show because, he portrays. I mean, it's got a little humor.
Yeah.
It's got some spots that are very serious.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, it's very entertaining. But when you watch it, it's the folks in the Continental Congress are, they're sophisticated people. They're the representatives of the colonies, right? They got the 13 colonies. They send their people, and they're not idiots. They're smart people.
Yes.
But they all have this honest to goodness difference of opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that they don't get along. They have different thoughts and ways of life, and they kind of know they don't want to be with Great Britain, but I'm not too sure they can coexist with each other all that much either.
Right.
When there's a lot of issues between the North and the South.
That's right.
Then, and they argue about it in Congress. Argue meaning, and they do it politely. I mean, there's some spots where they raise their voices and all this, but in those days when you talked about it, you always said "Sir," or "Mr. Hood."
Yes.
Or Mr. Hood, or
Or my right honorable friend, or whatever.
Exactly, yes. Yeah.
And they follow the Robert's Rules of Order in Congress. They make motions, they second them, they debate them, stuff like that. And so it's what I like about it, that I want to make sure people understand, is that at that time there was no United States of America.
That's right.
And these guys are trying to do something that literally has, there's a line in the play that says this. They're trying to do something that has never been done before in the history of the world.
That's true.
And so there's no playbook. right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's no precedent to follow. As a matter of fact, there's some lines in that about that too. It's like, can we even do this? Should we do this? What's gonna be the result if we do this? We're pretty
Yeah.
sure we know we're gonna take off England.
Yeah.
But basically, what happened if we do achieve independence? How are we gonna survive? What are we gonna, it's all that. And you gotta,
It's
we take it for granted the United States is here and has always been there. But when you're
Right.
watching it, you need to keep that in mind, that, put yourself in their place. What happens if we're successful with this? What have we done? What do we do?
yeah.
We just know our current situation is somewhat untenable. We kind of want to change it. But, and some of them want to change it by
Yeah.
reconciliation with the crown. They think, we can be independent, but we can do so by agreement.
Yeah.
As you can see, the passion of the history is right here.
Oh, I know.
And it's so fun to watch, getting this many men to participate in something like this. This particular show, it was easy because it's something where they can appreciate it. It's the history. And I love how he'll stop a rehearsal and someone will say a line and he'll say, "Do you know why you said that?"
Yeah.
And they'll go, "Well, I'm not really sure. Is it
Because it's in the
this?"
script, they say.
Right, well, and because a lot of times actors do that. You just memorize what's there and give it the feeling and emotion you feel like.
Right.
But for him to stop and be able to explain, and it's so fun because you watch them all like lean in and listen. It's
Yeah.
like, oh wow, I never knew that's what this was. So it gives a whole dimension
Yeah.
to them actually performing that character because he gives them the context, and I love that.
And I like to say, when you watch this play, obviously history says we signed the Declaration of Independence, right?
Yes.
We watch this play, we signed the Declaration of Independence, but just barely.
Yes, and come
It's
see
amazing how we almost
how
didn't
close,
get there.
how close it
It
was.
is.
Yeah.
If you study this, it really is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a miracle. I mean, I'm sure it was
They
divinely.
were brilliant men.
It was divinely
honestly,
inspired,
yeah,
but
yeah. They
yeah,
were.
they went on. Washington was the first president, Adams was the second, then Jefferson, then
Right.
Madison. I mean, it kind of,
You can see their characters.
All of those founding fathers is a part of it.
Yeah. So I will put out there too, though, for your listeners, it does have a mild language, so know that. I mean, it's an adult show. It's not anything that I wouldn't take my children to.
Yeah.
But it does have some adult language, and as Dr. Franklin, has a little body humor. Just a touch.
Dr. Franklin was one of the first womanizers.
He was pretty out there, and his character is amazing. But yeah.
No, but what's he saying? I mean, we don't drop any F-bombs, of course.
No, none
but,
of that.
But there's a few dams and hells.
Oh, yeah.
So
You
got a
you can
little
handle
stuff,
that.
you
I mean,
know.
because they get mad and
Yeah.
they get frustrated and
Yes, as people.
Well,
do.
they were grown men.
they were.
That's true.
They were grown men, and and gosh, thank God that they did what they did.
I know it.
You
The
know?
bravery, so
Yeah.
brave to do what they did, honestly.
When I was a senior in high school, my high school history teacher, Mr. Daniels, who I really loved, we did almost this same thing in our class. He set us up to negotiate this out. Now we cheated, because it was 4th grade and all this kind of stuff. We cheated. He got aggravated at us because we'd compiled. He had somehow or other devised a system of grading on how we passed the laws or whatever.
Okay.
And anyway, one of the brainy Smurfs got a hold of the key to it all, where we would all make the same grade.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway, we got in trouble over that. But anyway, I do remember him dressing up as Ben Franklin. During this, he was taking it so seriously, and I really enjoyed that class. Seriously, he was a great teacher.
That is fantastic. Well, speaking of costumes and dressing up, Greta Santos is our costume designer, and now Stan and I we've actually done this show. This is our 4th time to do it. The first time we did it was 20 years ago.
2006.
Yeah,
we did it in the courthouse.
We did in the courthouse in Pulaski, so it was beautiful.
Oh, wow.
But at that time, we had all of the wives of the men that were in the show sewed, and we made all of these elaborate costumes. I mean, like, we put a lot of heart and soul and authenticity in it. We don't nothing cheap and like just Amazon bought. Like we really bought good fabric.
Yeah.
And did it right. Each outfit has no less than 20 buttons on it. Like nice. Like it's a lot. The costuming is incredible in the show, and because we've done it a couple extra times through the years, we've had to create different ones because you have different sized gentlemen.
Yeah.
But so we had quite a grouping of costumes for them to choose from. But then they still have to be altered. So unsung heroes of theater, definitely your technical and support staff. So Rosie and her crew up in the tech booth, and absolutely the people who do the costuming. you can't look fantastic and embrace your character unless you've got that going on.
Yeah, that probably helps those who are acting in the play to kind of become the part.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. And then
know,
yeah.
The way they dressed back then. And
It was so
this
formal.
is taking place in Philadelphia in July, or leading up to July, and there's a lot of references in the show of how hot it is.
Yeah.
And I can't believe they made it through it the way they dress. It's like,
Exactly.
yeah, no kidding, we're hot.
Yeah, and then your choreographer making their dances. These gentlemen learn how to dance. I promise you, the night that I told them they were going to have to wear wigs and possibly tights, I was literally standing at the door with my arms out, going, "Don't leave, please don't leave. You got this. Don't be afraid. You're going to look great." And now they're shaving, and beards are a thing. You
Yes.
have one gentleman sir there,
Yes.
and beards are a thing. And we had probably half the cast that had beards. Full-on beards, and they so much embraced their character that they came in with clean faces,
They had
and
to
it's
shave
like,
to
wow.
get in
We
there.
didn't make them, but they
Yeah.
chose to
And
do it.
I know you're thinking it, you just didn't ask it, but I'm sitting here with an outrageous head of hair.
Yes.
And I don't want to wear a wig, and so I'm growing it long so I can get away with it. What I might do is have to attach a ponytail to make it long in the back like it's supposed to.
Someone
If I can
might-
get away with wearing the wig, I'm gonna get away with it.
So you're saying John Hancock had a ponytail?
Oh, they all
course.
did.
They all did, yeah.
Yeah, they did.
Well, except for people who were bald. Even Franklin had long hair where it grew.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting.
But yeah, they all had long hair and like a little ribbon tied in their
Oh,
ponytail.
they were fancy.
Yeah, they were. But I mean, that's how they looked back then. So anyway.
Yeah.
But it's a great place. So if you want to come see it, I highly, it's a nice drive over to the theater.
Yeah, in the end, that's May 1st and 2nd and 8th and 9th and then 3rd and 10th.
Yep. First, second, and
First,
third.
and the 10th.
The 3rd and 10th are on Sundays. That's the matinees from at 2 p.m. And the plays on the 1st and 2nd and 8th and 9th at 7 p.m. And that again is at the Star Theater on the square there in Pulaski. That's a historic place anyway.
Oh, it is. Tennessee's oldest opera house is
Isn't
right
that
upstairs
amazing?
waiting for us to renovate it.
Isn't
so-
that amazing? What's the story on the renovation there? I know that's been kind of a
Oh,
thing
goodness.
for a
We're
while.
waiting for you to write us a $10 million check.
That's it, pretty much. Someone out there has a little extra loose pocket change.
Yeah, it would
To the
take
tune of about 10 million.
it would take quite a bit, I guess,
Yes,
to
yes.
really bring it
And
back.
we'll even name it after you.
Oh,
if
we
you do
will.
that, yeah.
Would you
Certainly,
really?
We call it the Jeff Hood Theater,
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that the Hood Theater just has a good ring to it.
It does.
Then we can be the boys at the Hood.
I know, right? Meet us at the hood. I like
Yes.
it.
Yeah, yeah, very, very good. Well, I would love to see it, but it would take quite an effort, I'm sure.
Yes. We give tours all the time, so if you go on the website, you can get my information again and startheater.org, and I do tours all the time. We probably will do some tours around the productions too, like after the matinees.
Yeah, and by the way, Star Theater is spelled S-T-A-A-R.
Right.
Yeah, S-T-A-A-R, Star
Stands for
Theater.
Southern Tennessee Area Arts Repertory.
Yes.
That's the 2 A's. Start
Yeah.
with 2 A's.
Very good. That's one of my favorite. I mean, I love American history.
Yeah.
And I think I'll credit my high school history teacher with that.
Isn't that nice? I love it.
And for having at least an interest in it. And I'm very much a novice. I don't know everything, but what little bit I have studied, I've super enjoyed.
Yeah.
And the founding fathers were just brilliant. Man, I can't imagine how they did all the things that they did.
They were so young too. When you go
Yeah, they
back
were
and look
young.
at how young they actually were, this is
If you read up on Thomas Jefferson, he was an education fanatic.
Yes,
He spent every moment he had learning.
yes.
He actually designed and I don't know if he actually invented it, but he created a system that would hold a book and turn pages so he could read while he was eating. I kid you not.
I believe
I
that.
kid you not.
Yeah, I believe that.
And they wrote letters all the time, and they expressed thoughts all the time. And
Yeah.
I don't know what they would have done if they had today's technology, but even more of what they were doing then, as far as learning. They were just brilliant people.
Yeah.
Divinely inspired too. I mean, their passion to do what they did, and they really hung it all out to do this.
Yes.
And when you got to sit down and read the Declaration. It's less than 700 words.
That's
You know,
right.
sit down and read it. It won't take you long.
I keep a book of it here.
But the last,
oh my gosh.
but the
that's great.
last sentence,
Right there.
the last
Look at that.
sentence gives you chill bumps. The last sentence says, and to each other, we pledge our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. And that's what they did. Each and one of these men, had they been caught, they'd all been hung. And,
Yeah.
They'd been tried for treason and hung.
Yeah, there it is. We mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortune, and our sacred honor. Yeah, right there it is.
I mean, they exposed everything. And some of them did lose everything.
Yeah, they did.
For the cause. I
Yeah.
mean,
I've heard some history about what did happen to some of them, and
talk about commitment. I mean, there was no currency,
right.
or, I mean, they had the British currency at the time, because they were English. But once they separate, you know.
Is the line from Ben Franklin in this thing? If we don't hang together, we will certainly
Yep,
all
it
hang
sure is.
separately.
It is in there, sure is.
Because when we're signing it,
Assuredly.
when we're signing, John Hancock makes a comment that, hey, step right up and don't miss your chance to commit treason. And he responds with that line.
Really?
He says he's right.
Well, he was proud of his
Yeah.
commitment.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
The biggest signature on the declaration.
No,
John
Franklin
Hancock.
was great. You know, whenever there's a disagreement, it just seems like there's no compromise between the parties.
Yes.
Franklin comes up with the solution. It's usually not what you think it is, but it is the only solution to that problem. So he was.
And
pretty-
he always pulls John back. Those two are,
John Adams.
yes, those two are the.
I loved John Adams.
Yeah, oh, he's obnoxious and disliked,
But
but
I
he's
sure loved
wonderful. He's
I
wonderful.
played that 3 times, but I just can't pull it off anymore.
You
because
can't pull off 41 anymore, imagine that.
I could dye my hair and that still wouldn't work.
Yeah, he was tenacious.
Oh, yes.
He lived, breathed, and slept
Yeah.
getting this done.
Passion, total
Yeah.
passion. And Chad Hastings, who's playing John Adams this time, wow, I get chills every time I hear that man sing, and he's got the passion. So
Good deal. I'm planning to be. I got to be one of these shows.
you need to come to this one. This would
Yeah.
be the one for you to
Yeah,
come to.
I got to do it.
Yeah.
You bring your son. He'll probably.
Yeah, I will.
Or bring your wife.
We'll just get everybody to come.
Yeah. be
Yeah,
great.
we'll make plans to do that. We sure will. We sure will.
Anyway, we're getting toward
Close.
the end.
We got about 3 minutes
Just
left.
let me quick review
Yes.
what's coming up. You know, I got my seminar in Lewisburg, Saturday the 25th, which is a week from tomorrow. It's not tomorrow, but it's next Saturday. When we do those Saturday seminars, we always do them at 10 o'clock in the morning. It's called Wills, Trust in the Nursing Home. And it's going to be at the Marshall County Memorial Library. The physical address for that is 310 Old Farmington Road, Lewisburg, Tennessee. The library over there is putting that on for us. And it's the same seminar I do when I do it over here. But, you know, if you want to come see that one, that's great. Just come on. You don't have to call us an RSVP, but if you want to, you can. It will probably start promptly at 10. The next one I do is in May 30th, and I'll bring that up as we get past this one. So, if you want to come here, we talk about what we can do, the options that you can do when it comes to planning. We talk a lot about regular trust. That we talk a lot about the asset protection trust, which is the solution to worried about long-term care. And we don't talk much about crisis planning because that's sort of a separate topic altogether. But we touch on it a little bit. So I think you'll hear that there are solutions to these problems that you're worried about. And
Absolutely.
And if you do things ahead of time, it's always better. Thus, the word planning.
Right.
Wait till the last second to do it. I mean, we usually can do a lot, but we're somewhat limited most of the time.
Sure.
But it's never a situation where I can't do something.
Yes.
But you know, a lot of times it's like, well, it's not ideal, but at least we're protecting something.
We can save something.
But if you do something ahead of time, we can protect everything.
Yeah,
So, you know,
absolutely.
so give it some thought. It's the best of all worlds because, you know, if you never do go into care, then you have a trust that distributes property probate free, just like our revocable living trust, and you're covered on all bases. You know, you're covered at death, you're covered during life, your stuff is protected. It won't be used for the high cost of long-term care.
Right,
So,
right.
Anyway,
Stan Pierchoski, everybody, Pierchoski Estate Law, and located in Pulaski, Tennessee, in that beautiful new facility there.
that's right.
And of course, Tammy, thanks for coming in. You come back.
bet,
You want
yeah.
to come back again, okay?
Sure,
Well,
certainly do it,
her-
if he
her-
allows it.
Yeah.
Her coming in was somewhat self-serving because I'm her ride.
Well, wait a minute now, I remember several months ago, I was his ride.
Yeah,
That's
so-
right.
That's right.
That's right. Well, God bless, guys. I'll see you
Thank
next
you.
time.
Appreciate
We'll
it.
be here every Friday from 8 to 9.
All right, buddy.
And your clock is way off.
What?
Your clock is way off.
Yeah, I don't know why that
So
thing's
that's
way off.
come
I
up
had to
with-
go by this one up here.
It's coming up on 59. Look at it now, see?
Yeah, I don't
I thought we were a
understand.
whole minute.
On the
ahead.
button, on the
Yeah,
button.
that one's close, but this one over here is one I gotta go by. Thank you, man.
Thank you,
Thanks, boss.
appreciate it.
You guys,
Have a good